Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSMArena. The holidays are upon us, and if you're all about snapping the best pictures with your phone, you've come to the right place. We've put together a list of 2019's best camera phones you should keep an eye out for this season. Let's get started, but first let's talk a little bit about the trends we've seen this year. Last year was all about dual camera setups, but now in 2019 we've seen triple and quad camera setups, even on budget phones, usually including both a macro cam and an ultra wide. And now you can get telephoto cameras with an even longer reach than 2x. Another trend we've seen is a larger and larger sensor for the main camera. Most manufacturers have adopted sensors with a large megapixel count and quad Bayer filter, which outputs photos at a fourth of the nominal resolution. So far, the largest we've seen is a 108 megapixel main sensor. Night mode is yet another feature that has gotten a lot more popular within the last year. Pretty much every phone coming out these days has some iteration of it. Turns out using image stacking and algorithms to brighten up nighttime shots is pretty popular with consumers and the way to go in the future. And finally, there have been quite a few pop-up selfie cameras, which hide inside the body to save space on the front of the phone. The effect is neat, though better solutions for hiding the camera may be coming in the future. So with all that said, let's get into the best and most versatile camera phones of 2019, in no particular order, but stick around till the end for our editor's choice. First, we have the OnePlus 7T Pro. This phone has a triple camera setup, with a 48 megapixel quad Bayer main camera, an 8 megapixel 3x telephoto, and a 16 megapixel ultra wide. We like the extra reach 3x zoom gives you. And since the ultra-wide has autofocus, you can use it to take close-up macro-style shots. The selfie cam's focus is fixed, but it's of the pop-up variety, so it allows you to have a notchless display. Next is the Huawei P30 Pro. The P30 Pro has a quad camera setup. There's a 40 megapixel quad Bayer main cam, an 8 megapixel periscope telephoto cam, a 20 megapixel ultra-wide, and a TOF camera. The periscope cam gives you 5x zoom, the longest zoom on the market, and the ultra-wide-angle cam has autofocus too. However, video recording isn't quite as capable as its rivals, and there isn't autofocus on the selfie cam. And though you do get Google on the P30 Pro, there is some uncertainty with future software updates, due to the US-China trade dispute. Third on the list, the Huawei Mate 30 Pro. The Mate 30 Pro's setup is similar to the last phone we saw, but there are some key differences. You get the same 40 megapixel main cam and TOF camera, but the 8 megapixel telephoto is only 3x here, and you have an upgraded 40 megapixel quad Bayer ultra-wide with autofocus. The result is that you get sharper and more detailed ultra-wide photos, but the trade-off is that the Mate's telephoto cam has less zoom and is of lower quality than the P30 Pro's. The Mate also has a TOF sensor for the selfie cam, so you can make great selfie portraits. But sadly, this phone has no support for Google services, so anyone outside of the Chinese market will have a difficult time using it. Next, Apple's iPhone 11 Pro. This phone boasts a triple camera setup, a 12 megapixel main cam, a 12 megapixel 2x telephoto cam, and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide. Apple's Smart HDR, along with their Deep Fusion technology, is able to give you excellent image quality in stills. On top of that, the video capture is the best in the business. You can shoot in all sorts of resolutions with all three cams, with awesome stabilization. However, we're not such fans of the generally muted color output. The zoom level is less than competitors offer, and there's no autofocus on the ultra-wide or the selfie cam. But still, this remains one of the best camera phones this year. Number 5. The Samsung Galaxy Note 10. The Galaxy Note 10 has a 12 megapixel main cam, a 12 megapixel 2x telephoto cam, and a 12 megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera. One neat feature is that the main camera has a variable dual aperture and will adjust based on the available light, and you have some really nice HDR algorithms that give you a ton of dynamic range. Our complaints are that this telephoto only has 2x zoom, and that there isn't autofocus on the ultra-wide cam, so no close-ups. But the camera performance on this phone is one of our favorites. Number 6. The Google Pixel 4 XL. The Pixel 4 XL has just two cameras on the back, a 12 megapixel main cam and a 16 megapixel 2x telephoto. Of course, the Pixel brings you the great processing typical for Google, and you get generally really nice shots. However, compared to the rest of the lineup, the Pixel seems to fall behind a bit. Other manufacturers have developed their own excellent processing already, and there's only 2x zoom, no ultra-wide cam at all, and no autofocus on the selfie camera. But if you're okay with these trade-offs, it's still a great camera to have in your pocket. Next, the Oppo Reno2. The Oppo Reno2 is a mid-ranger with a quad camera setup. There's a 48MP quad bare main cam, a 13MP 2x telephoto cam, an 8MP ultra-wide-angle cam, and a depth sensor. We like the images you can get from this setup, especially since this phone is half the price of some of the others on this list. And since the ultra-wide has autofocus, you can use it to take macro shots as well. The shark fin pop-up selfie cam is quite neat too, though it doesn't have autofocus. Other downsides are that you only get a mid-range chipset, and that the Reno2 isn't available in all markets. But if it is available where you are, it's definitely worth considering. And finally, our editor's choice pick for the best camera phone of 2019, the Xiaomi Mi Note 10. The Mi Note 10 is only a mid-ranger, and yet it packs one of the most advanced camera setups out there. There are 5 cameras on the back, including a whopping 108MP quad bare main camera, both a 12MP and a 5MP telephoto cam, offering 2x and 5x zoom, a 20MP ultra-wide-angle cam, and a 2MP macro camera. Besides giving you awesome levels of detail, the large sensor also means that you have a shallow depth of field for natural bokeh in your shots. Plus, having the 2 telephoto cameras with different levels of zoom, as well as an ultra-wide-angle cam with autofocus, gives you a level of versatility which is unmatched by the competition. Overall, we're quite happy with the quality of the Mi Note 10 stills, in both day and night. However, video capture does have some flaws. The selfie camera doesn't have autofocus, and you don't get a flagship chipset. But if you're considering price in the equation, the Mi Note 10 gives you the most camera for your buck. So there you have it guys, our picks for the best camera phones of 2019. You do agree with our choices, and if not, which device would you call the king? Let us know down below. I hope this list helped you out a little bit. We'll leave a link in the description to a written article too, which will have up-to-date pricing for you. See ya!